started yesterday with an introduction and a welcome to our Rosenberg Regional Fellows, and we're going to kind of close out with this as well. So I just really want to start by thanking all of you. This has been a big experiment that I think has gone quite well. We met several times on Zoom in advance. We had meetings while we were here, spending time to get to know each other. I've just found you all to be very collegial and kind, and we've done early morning calls and late calls, and I just really appreciate the energy and the generosity of spirit that you have brought to this experience. So thank you. Christina and Eric, I want to also just give you a shout out and thank you you were there really at the beginning when we kind of dreamed up this idea, and then, you know, we've been talking a lot at this conference about making plans and then having a hard time implementing them or making something happen, but you guys as well were really there to implement, so thank you to that. And to the advisory board and Sarush and Glenda and Sherry for, you know, this was something new and it took some time and energy and resources, and we're just really grateful for it. So we want to hear from the fellows, and so we kind of thought about doing 2 rounds here of questions to hear a little bit more and learn a little bit more. So in this first round, I'm hoping we can go down kind of one by one and maybe just say a little bit more about the work that you do. Something that maybe is exciting you these days or some challenges that you're facing. So we'll take a few minutes each and just move on down.
Thank you, Andrea. Yeah, I want to forget her name. Thank you. Yes, again, I'm Ratsmai from Cambodia. My organization called SEPA. Yeah, if you go to Cambodia, you can ask any friend working in the NGO and ask him SEPA. They will know. Yeah. Yeah. SEPA is a local NGO that have working directly to support local community along the Mekong River. It's northern province of Cambodia, Skeng Treng, Kratik, Ratnakiri, and Mandalkiri province. Yeah. We support community to protect fishery resource and its habitat along the Mekong River through establishing and strengthening the community fishery. And also we have another program called Mekong Red Plus program that working directly with community forestry. And another one is we call climate resilience in Cambodia that support community to adapt mitigation and disaster management to climate change. Yeah. Currently, we work directly with over 100 community representative over 20K member. And they have secured their right to manage their resources through the agreement with a government, like we call community fishery, community forestry, community protected area, and community-based ecotourism. And also we work, like I mentioned earlier, we have the successful implement, we call self-financing for community. Currently, we have certified community fishery and community forestry. They have self-financing for their own to support the implementation of their management plan, like a patrol or capacity building and a meeting among themselves. And that is the self-financing come from the multiple approach, including mini trust fund, credit scheme, ecotourism service, and enterprise development. That all that approach come together to support the community to be sustained. And another successful, we strengthening community network, a strong network. We have a community fishery network across the country, a women leadership network on fishery and water governance, and Mekong Youth Network. For women leadership network, we have a representative of women leader from the Mekong River, Sri River, Tonle Sap, and coastal zone in Cambodia come together. Currently, we have support 400 member of the women leadership. Is a member of a network, and they have capacity, they have confidence to talk and represent their member in the policy dialogue and at the conference, and also they can share their challenge, their need, and they can negotiate with the duty bearer what they need and what they concern. Yeah. And from our effort, we have some challenge because currently the community themselves, they need more capacity. Some women leader, when they have capacity, they have confidence. Some of them they become to the local authority like a council, district governor, and that need that the way we need to empower more, to build more women. Yeah. And one thing is related to evidence-based for advocacy. That what you know, when we work on the advocacy or policy improvement, we need the evidence for talking, for raising. But community themselves, they based on their perspective. That is a policy maker always say that is not evident enough for them to make the plan or the input in the policy. That is what I want to hear from the forum regarding about the how to make the evidence-based for community, how to integrate scientific research here with the local knowledge. That is one I want to know about that. And another one regarding to the technical and innovation, because currently there are many AI technology and mitigation adaptation tool that is some is very difficult for community to understand. And what we want to know, currently we have for climate resilience, we have tool, anticipatory action tool that we apply to the local community. That is a tool provide the knowledge to them to avoid, to reduce the risk and impact from the climate change. That is better than other tool for the mitigation or adaptation, reduce the cost. That is, I think.
Thank. Thank you. Again, my name is Sang Ravi Suvirakan. I belong to Chan Indigenous Group. I'm from Kok River Basin. My group was formed in 2002 because on that time we have issue on the stateless issue because Kok River Basin that I am from, the upstream in Burma and the lower stream in Thailand. So we have at the border, so we have the issue. And also about on that time we use we have no transportation route. We only use the Kok River to connect to Chiang Rai, to Mekong River. There are indigenous people from Laos and from the lower Kok Basin is migration to upstream. 3 countries, Burma, Thailand, and Laos, the main transportation is Kok River. There are 12 indigenous groups live along the river. After that, we register foundation. Rompo Foundation had registered in 2019, and we focus on the environment issue and still indigenous people issue. We are facing the water pollution issue beside the stateless and the land right issue. The early year, this year, that we found that the water pollution because of the rare earth mining in upstream of Kok River. This big impact to the indigenous people along Kok River, especially women and children. The children, when I was young, I already remember that I learned how to swim from Kok River. And after we found that arsenic from the rare earth mining, the government announced that we should avoid to use the water from Kok River. So children cannot play in this river anymore. And also some vegetables like cabbage, chili, pumpkin found arsenic. This is really affect to indigenous people along Kok River. And what I'm expect here, where before I come, I really want to learn about the transboundary water policy to adapt into the challenge what I have issue in my community now. The rare earth mining are settled in Burma, which is about 30 kilometers from my community. And this area is controlled by the armed group. What I know is Burma is partner of MRC, but they are not member of MRC. Seems like MRC cannot handle with what happening now. That's, my expectation. Really want to learn the policy, transboundary policy, how to control the issue that I have. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so hi everyone again. My name is Việt. My full name is Nguyễn Đức Việt. I'm working for the Ministry of Agriculture and Environment. It looks like a policy maker. I have a background about the water resources management, and also have a knowledge about the water resources engineering. So in my office, we just passed to the machines progressing. Before I'm working for the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, and now we combine with the Ministry of Environment, Natural and Environment, and to become the ministry that is a Ministry of Agriculture and Environment. And I also my department the change. At the moment, I moved from the division of the water security to the Department of Dam and Reservoir Safety. It's my responsibility that it manage the over 7,000 dam and reservoir in Vietnam. That is very important for my country because we have a many storm, the tropical storm, and that's why we our department have to make the decision when and where we can control the water based on the open the dam, open the gate of the dam. And secondly, in our department, we have a responsibility to make the policy and the institution. For example, in the Mekong River Delta here, when the sea level rise, the water, the salty water invade to the land is maybe around 100 kilometer, and the local people here, they cannot get the fresh water for their domestic and for their production. So that's why at that time we have to make the decision, or we have to have a policy and to help them. And maybe that we can send them a little bit money, and they can buy the fresh water in somewhere, or the others, or another. Maybe that we can bring for them what is the equipment and to harvest the rainfall, the water, and before the dry season or something like that. That is my responsibility. And during my work, of course, I'm very happy if everything is running smooth. But very worried, and we cannot sleep if the job is stuck in somewhere. I don't know. And for example, thank for Alberto because you remind me about the huge project about the 1 million hectare and to reduce the carbon dioxide emissions. We have to stop that project because the US AID, from the US, the cut funding. So that's why in Vietnam we have to stop. we talk about the World Bank, and the World Bank very happy and to help us to bring the money for us. But actually we cannot receive immediately because we have to negotiate with them. Because the Vietnam now is a developing country. It's not a poor country. So many conditions, the following. So we have to negotiate, and it's not only for short time, 3 months or 6 months. No, maybe have 1 year, 2 years, and maybe the 5 years. Yeah. So that is the challenges for us. Because we have some pilot project is running very well, but we cannot expand now. Okay, so I have some the difficult in my work, that is the data informations. The data information that is very struggling to get the data from the outside Vietnam, of course. So that's why it's maybe that we need to use technology is like the satellite data or something like that, and we can know about this. And also the data from the local people here. And the local authority, when I request, they send for me an official letter. Everything is very good. But actually it's not like that. So we need to the real response from the local people. So that's why I think that the NGO or some organization is like the Oxfam, the CARE, or and so on. They should to go and they have another channels and to respond for us is better for me. Oh, so many things. So I think we can. I can say you later because I want to move microphone with my friends first.
Thank you, Viet. I I scanned around the room and I wanted to ask myself how I talk about my work that make you not falling asleep. Further, because we are toward the end of the conference. So I will tell 2 stories and a little bit about my work. I've been with Oxfam more than 10 years, so it's a struggle for me to summarize in 2 minutes, but I will try. When we in Oxfam, when we talk about water governance for the Mekong, we recognize the governing structure exists already that country as a member comply. So we ask the question on water governance, who get invited and who doesn't get invited to the space where decision, consultation, and planning, and so on are discussed. And we have a mission to bring inclusive voice of community, of civil society actor, of river network to that space. Mekong is a transboundary river, therefore the issue that occur upstream matter to downstream, and especially matter to the community that their livelihood rely on fishery, rely on water for agriculture, and so on, for their daily livelihood. So we have that strong focus on ensuring that people that are relying on the resource of the river, be it fishery or agriculture or and so on, access to information, access to water, access to resource that they can continue their livelihood amid all the changes that happened, climate change and so on. So the story that I want to tell that illustrate about my work, first story is happening in Cambodia side. We have the Ramsar side in Stang Trang province where actually SEPA is working. When the water, the flows of the water in the Mekong start to change, many trees in the Ramsar area fall down in massive number. And community doesn't know why the tree falling down more than any other year. They know that the water have changed the flow, why this happened. And then this is a designated area and it's also designated for ecotourism activity that community rely on. So this is an important transboundary issue and local community doesn't know why it happens. So we have initiated activities through our local partner, which is to do water monitoring, water quality monitoring, and we engage. I think earlier session we talked about methodology that involve and lead by the local people, and this is an example of water quality monitoring. They play the role in measuring different times of the day, the water level fluctuate, and try to monitor the patterns during the all year round, and use this information to discuss with the relevant stakeholder at the provincial and higher level to understand why this is such a matter. And we use this kind of local engagement process to open a bigger opportunity for people to start asking questions and to try to get the information about change that occur when the water in the river no longer flow freely, but it's become regulated. What are some of the environmental concerns that happen, and as a result, they witness all the changes that surrounding in the community. The second example that I would like to share is in another country that we support. The Salawin river system have a tributary river, Yuam River, which is located in Mae Hong Son province in the northern of Thailand. And the government on the Thai side plan on a big diversion project, divert the water off from the river system for the use in the domestic part. The impact assessment of that project demonstrate very small scales of impact on the local community. Mitigation measure also quite limited. And when the people attend this information sharing about the EIA, they were wondering, like, I was meeting with a community and they were neighbor. One person said their house were identified in the EIA report as affected, but their neighbor not affected. And they asked, like, why, how the sample size of this EIA is being done. So they found it a flawed process. We support a researcher from Chiang Mai University to work alongside with the community leader in a village affected by the project to conduct what they call people EIA. Basically is to conduct the mapping of the resource that they rely on through core zone, through buffer zone and fishery resource in the area. And the process engaged and led by local people with the support from researcher. And they use this to present about the concern, the size of impact in meetings with relevant ministry. So I think this example, we just demonstrate how engagement of local people in the process, in the analysis, and also in the use of the finding can present about their position, their concern, and ask for appropriate consideration and a response. Especially if the process being done is so as to meet requirement, but it's not a meaningful, so we would like to have such a process that give another view from the people's side about the impact and so on. And I just want to have one more point so you can go to the next round. Oftentimes in such a discussion, there's a lot of questions when we present about the result from community-led research, from quality monitoring of the water quality or monitoring of the fishery, fish species, people EIA as such, because the rigor of the methodology maybe is called into question. But the important is the impact is real on the people, and therefore I think it's very critical when we need to ask the question like what narrative that get told in big forum to be considered in the policy process. We discuss sometimes during the process about evidence base, about the reliability of data and so on. So I just want to bring this side into the conversation that sometimes for the people, they live with the experience, so they can tell. It's a narrative that they can tell. And we cannot ask for more because it is the life experience that they have lived through. And this is very important angle that I think need to enter into the discussion.
Thank you. We'll do one more round. And the question I'd like to ask is if you could share one key lesson or an insight, something that you gained from your participation at the forum, and how it might inform or influence or help you think about your work going forward. Maybe at the end.
According to my English ability, I might have different what I have learned here. When I was in the school, my teacher said that air and water is a basic right of the human. But 30 years later, I found that this is not true, especially water. I remember the first day in my life is 1991. In Kok River had been cut from upstream and downstream to transfer the water into Chiang Rai city. When Kok River has cut, I found that many years later, some kind of fish disappear. When I was young, I remember we don't have Facilitator. When we want fish, my parents go to Kok River and we get it. When what we want some vegetable, we go to Kok River, we get it. But now, a lot of things that disappear. 100 kilogram of fish when I was young is normal. You know, I have seen it almost every day. But after that, 10 kilo fish is not easy to find, especially now. Fish advice from government that not to eat because of the arsenic. After that, dam upstream of Mekong River has begun after 1991. I learned that it really affects to our indigenous people. This impact to the traditional life of the indigenous people, especially food from the river. This also impact to our culture. Young people have to move to the city because they cannot continue their farmer life. And yeah, this is no young generation to continue the indigenous people traditional way of life. And really hope with MRC after to this mechanism can change to good, to a positive change. But it seems like, I don't know, positive or negative. 11 complete construction dam have complete, and 11 some are ongoing, some are in action plan. This I really, maybe MRC not happy if I ask this question yesterday, but I really see that what is happened. I really want to know how much, worldwide invest in to try to address the Mekong issue. And linking today that I have learned it, we take then 3 decades to try to address this problem. The problem of Mekong River is not really addressing, but the new coming is about that I just mentioned earlier about the rare earth mining. Before, to upstream, control the water, the release some water that we still have water to use. But now water with arsenic, this is really something that can't accept that. And this, again, it happened in Salavin River, that just last week that I have found this information from Thailand. Yeah, what I have to share to my community. We still, 30 years, we have adapt our life to the dam and the change of the river in my community. And from now on, we still have to adapt our life to it. I don't know when this is going to end, but it seems like it will take some time. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so it's my turn. It's for me for this Rosenberg forum. I think that for me, have a one word you can say that it changing. Everyone that can talk can see the one the sentence is very famous that it changing by exchange. I'm very happy because I'm to be here, and sometimes I'm feeling to be a student. And there's many lectures here that you have good knowledge and about the water policy, water resources, and everything that you have. And I learned from you. The first of all, when I came here, with my background about the hydraulic water infrastructure, I just only think about the infrastructure. But now maybe I changed my mind. Because that there's many issues sold on the presentation for this for the Mekong River Delta, and also I learned from another basin, maybe from the Argentina, from the Brazil or something like that, and I think that I changed. Okay, so I think this will help me in the future and to make the policy, the policy, the water policy for my country. First of all, that is I think how to interact with the sediment, the sedimentation, lack of sedimentation. And the mode of presentation is talked on this issue. So in this morning, I called my office and to give some the statistics. It's long-term the monitoring, and so that before 2007, the Mekong River and spring the 160 million ton of the sedimentation annually for this delta. But you know, at the moment, it brings only the 50 million ton, just only the 70%, less than 2007. And we predict until 2040, just only 5 million ton per year that will come to this area. So that is the big problem for this area. And how? Thanks for the solution from Spain and hope from the USA, because we have discussed during the Alphin Chip on-time team. And you said about how to return the sedimentation to the river. Of course, we can open the bottom gate of the dam. But before that we do that, we should to talk about the local people in the downstream now. And they can bring the nutrients from the sedimentation on their farm. Yeah, actually in Mekong River Delta is like the Netherlands. They also build a dye, convert their farm, and maybe they can broken a part of dye and bring the nutrient, and then they can rebuild. That is one way, and we can do for the sedimentation for this reason. I learned from you. The second thing, how to adapt with the global climate change, especially the sea level rise and the water intrusions. That is a clear issue for this reason. And how to do is, I think that we can consider to building some delta reservoir to store the water during the dry seasons. Even this delta, we can build some the reservoir to store. Because you know we have some policy to encourage the local people here to harvest rainfall water, but it's not enough. So that's why we think we should to build in some reservoir, or we can concrete in some the main canal and store the water in there, and build in some the waiver on the mainstream. Yeah, that is my thinking. And how to interact with the delta subsidence at the rate of the 3 or 4 centimeters per year. And as the presentation of Andrea talk in this morning, sea level rise is over 3 millimeters per year. So millions of people here that will be affected, right? So maybe that we should consider is maybe that we can do in some the big dye like a Netherlands, right? But someone talked with me, so why Vietnam don't invest the money into build the big dye like a Semagum in the South Korea? Yeah, that is a breakthrough, and we can think about that. Maybe that we have to need the assessment, environmental assessment before that we do. But that is the, how to say, that is the question for the researcher. We have to do before we go, right? And I think we can do how to share the information between the country. Everyone know about the AI, the machine learning, deep learning, everything, and big data. But no data, we cannot do anything, right? So I think it looks like this forum, we can make a good platform, and for 5 or 6 countries in this Mekong River, we can upload their data to go. Of course, we should to select what is the suitable the data we can upload, and where everyone that can go and access. And number 5, that is the water governance. I think the water governance is very important, but we cannot do it like the MRC because the MRC is look like it's like the conference, and we can talk, but actually maybe the we do is very difficult. It depends on the efforts of each country. So we think we can do it like the Argentina is maybe we build a river basin organization, and we can solve a water conflict between the province and province. It may be better. We can, in my ministry, we can share the power for them. We also cut a part of the funding for them, and they can do by themselves. It's better than we move everything to the province. One example is like in the Sóc Trăng and Bạc Liêu in this region. Bạc Liêu have a shrimp farmer, fish farmer, and Sóc Trăng only rice farmer. So the chairman, maybe the answer for the question of the Professor Edu, you asked about the election. Yeah, chairman, they want to win. They have to protect. They have to make the sacrifice from the local people. Yeah. So that is the water conflict, and we can solve it. Maybe we move to upper one level. It's a river basin organization. Okay, so that is some point that I want to change.
Two key takeaways from me. Actually, this is my second time for this year to attend conference that the Delta has been the focus discussion. It's only reinforced the point that the challenges facing by Delta of the many rivers in the world, especially the Mekong where we're coming from, is a pressing matter, and therefore the river and the delta shared by many countries, and as I mentioned earlier, upstream activity matter for downstream. So this call for, to me, the first key takeaway is constructive dialogue. Of course, stakeholders that come to the dialogue have different political interests, but how can we constructively dialogue that find benefit or solution, not only for just one specific group, but shared by many, because at the end of the day, I going back to the people who are the majority and face the challenge. My second key takeaway, I think learning from so many presentations, some of the findings in the presentation are the first time I heard. So this community is full of knowledge. Those knowledge are very important to share, to inform action. Because we know that knowledge is power. So how can we facilitate, how can I, going back, facilitate access to different forms of knowledge so that the people that we most interest to serve, like river network, community, indigenous people, people with disability, and so on, who normally not being included in the formal process, able to access to those knowledge so that they can use it to make decision. If at the end of the day they don't take any decision, that's fine, that's their choice. But I think they should have the rights to access to those information that are current, that are latest in the community, so they can use it for their own self-determination, for their own decision making. So I think those are two key points.
Yes, thank you. For me, what I learned from the forum, water is a connect all of us. Because water, we are here, connect each other and know each other. Yeah. I learned maybe that a lot of data that someone present, and they have different challenge, but the common thread, and there are many different approach based on the context, based on the geography, but what we need is the effective policy that can turn into action, policy that people can understand, can interpret, and can implementation, and the funding to support the implementation of the policy, and also the policy that bring together, join together to develop that policy with inclusion. And what we learn is, what I concern is based on my experience together is we have policy, but we have no any mechanism to monitor the policy implementation. What is the best practice and what is the gap and how to improve it. That is the point that we need to discuss. Yeah. I love that we talk about we don't make the thought of water is a water make the peace and share prosperity. Yeah, thank you.
Please join me in thanking our fellows. It's been a real honor.